A headstrong demoness leaves hell to pursue her dream of exploring the mortal world above. Sinners endure cruel punishments for their mortal sins in the depths of hell. Veronica, a demoness, observes her teacher's usual acts of torture. However, she interrupts him to share a recurring dream, where she witnessed a blue roof with a golden orb above it. Recognizing the implications of escaping hell to pursue this vision, her teacher promptly strikes her. Veronica's friend, Mary, gently reminds her that the elders will never be open to exploring the mortal world. She adds that they've been bitter since the fall, but Veronica complains that they shouldn't be paying for the elders' mistakes. She then claims that she'll risk anything for the chance to be free. Wanting to help her friend, Mary shows her a crevice by the River of Tyrants, which her uncle claims will lead to the mortal world. Veronica urges Mary to take her there, and to her surprise, she finds it unguarded. Mary explains that there's no need in doing so since the traditional way to go above is through demonic possession. She's the only one who wants to go using her own body. Just then, Veronica invites Mary to come with her, but she refuses because she's afraid. Later, Veronica talks to her father, Helican, who's enraged after hearing about her teacher's reports. However, Veronica remains headstrong, claiming that she intends to see the golden orb. Helican believes this to be blasphemous, so he orders her to repent at once. Unfazed, Veronica only says that she wants another life, which earns her a strong blow from her father's hand. She runs home to her mother, Teresa, who's cooking stew with a human hand. Teresa encourages Veronica to apologize to her father, believing that angering him might lead him to destroy her. Suddenly, Helican comes home for supper. As the family dines together, Teresa prompts Veronica to speak to her father. However, the willful demoness refuses to apologize, which frustrates her parents. Helican then springs from his seat and throws his sword toward Veronica, but she quickly dodges it. Teresa pleads with him to calm down, but he only replies that they can always have more children. Desperate to save her, Teresa screams at her daughter to run, so Veronica escapes into the River of Tyrants with her hound, Hellraiser. After leaving Hell, Veronica emerges from the city sewers and finds herself among the mortals. As soon as she steps foot on this new world, her demonic features disappear, making her look human. However, she soon feels the piercing stares of the bypassers and realizes that she's all bare. Veronica hastily retreats from the bustling crowd and soon dresses in the clothes that Hellraiser found. At the All Saints Hospital, Dr. Max Barris is greeted with two patients, a robber with a gunshot wound and the elderly woman who shot him in defense. The woman is in a fatal condition, and despite Max's efforts, she passes away while the robber survives, making him lose hope in the goodness in the world. He then decides to take a break by the balcony, where he catches sight of the alluring Veronica. Their gazes lock as both are entranced by each other. However, their brief connection is interrupted when Veronica gets hit by a car. Max immediately admits her to the hospital. Soon after, the unconscious Veronica gets confined to the ward, where Max and the nurse are baffled as to why her room is terribly cold, despite the heater being on. What surprises them further is Veronica's feet, which are unusually large. When the nurse leaves, Max wakes Veronica and explains that she's in a hospital because of an accident. However, Veronica is unfazed by this news and is only concerned about Hellraiser's whereabouts. Max replies that he's in the pound, so the woman walks toward the window, visibly relieved that she's in the right place upon seeing the night sky. She then asks Max who he is, and he replies that he's her doctor. To ease her worries, Max promises to check on her dog if she goes back to sleep. Veronica obliges, and within a snap, she's already unconscious, leaving her doctor dumbfounded. Later, Max calls the pound but learns that the dog is missing. He informs Veronica about this the following morning, but she replies that Hellraiser is fine and is already waiting for her downstairs. True enough, the dog is politely seated on hospital grounds, which amazes Max. Veronica shares with Max that Hellraiser's heart is pure, just like his. This flusters him, so he diverts the conversation, saying that he brought her some clothes and shoes. Veronica then blurts out that she's to be discharged, which drives Max to confirm this news. The head doctor reasons that there's nothing wrong with Veronica, but Max replies that further observations might be better. However, the head doctor reasons that patients aren't like puppies that must be kept. When Max returns to Veronica, she commands him to take her in. This makes him wonder about her family and home, so she hypnotizes the doctor into agreeing with her. At the end of Max's shift, he takes Veronica home with him. Upon arriving, he gets surprised that Hellraiser arrived before them and even knows which apartment he lives in. Before they enter, Veronica overhears a heated argument between a neighboring couple. Max casually remarks that they're always like that, but Veronica points out that the husband is cheating, which is actually correct. Once inside, Max excuses himself for a quick nap because he has a night shift. While he's asleep, Veronica explores his apartment and eventually finds the TV. She ends up watching the news, where Wharton, the city's mayor, talks about his corrupt agendas. When Max wakes up, he catches Veronica sulking before the TV, upset at how much evil there is in this world. She refuses to tolerate this, so she wants to know more about the mayor and why he's permitted to govern. Max replies that the people voted for him, which upsets Veronica further. He then excuses himself to go to work, so he leaves her the apartment keys and some money in case she or Hellraiser want something to eat. As the night progresses, Veronica ventures out and encounters two nuns. Upon noticing the rosaries they carry, she instinctively kneels and humbles herself before them. The nuns assure Veronica that such a gesture is unnecessary, and they reveal that their mission is to provide support to homeless young individuals. Veronica is taken aback when the nuns invite her to join them at the church, since she'll combust upon entering such holy grounds. Alarmed, the nuns hand her a crucifix, which quickly burns her hand. The nuns are stunned, while Veronica feels betrayed. She reasons that she's always served the Lord well, so she doesn't understand why they're hurting her. Veronica flees, but runs into a woman in trouble with some robbers. This triggers the demon inside her, so she throws a metal rod into one of the men's stomachs. She then rips the other man's spine, and Hellraiser quickly feasts in the man's flesh. The demoness then discards her bloodstained shirt and tells the woman to reflect upon what she sees. The police later report to the scene, and they're shocked upon witnessing the robbers' torn bodies hanging by a tree. Detective Harper and Greenberg are assigned to the case, and all they have as a clue is the shirt that Veronica left, which has the All Saints Hospital tag on it. Later, the woman from the murder scene gets admitted to the hospital, hysterically claiming that everyone should repent. The detectives follow, informing Max that they intend to question the witness. However, the woman keeps talking about the demons, which urges Max to bring her to the ER. When Max comes home, he finds a late-night dinner that Veronica prepared for him. She serves him some meat, but it's unclear where she got it from. She then asks Max about his shift, so he shares about the double murder that happened close to their apartment. Veronica claims that the slain victims were wrongdoers and they deserve to die. However, Max argues about the sanctity of human life. The woman refuses to concede, saying that dishonoring life deserves punishment in hell. After the doctor goes to sleep, Veronica stays up to type something important. Elsewhere, the detectives inform the chief of their theory that a psycho is responsible for the killings, not a gang. Given how the bodies were mutilated and partially eaten, the men assert that the perpetrator must be caught. The chief, however, points out how the people see the assailant as a hero since the victims were criminals. Meanwhile, Veronica witnesses a person of color unjustly beaten by the police. She tries stopping them, but they only threaten to accuse her of being a hustler. This prompts her to slash the cops' throats, killing them. She proudly assures the victim that the cops will now suffer in hell. However, the man is frightened by her actions, confusing her. Veronica then places a paper into one of the cops' mouths, which is the letter she typed for Mayor Wharton. In hell, Teresa prays for Veronica's safety and the enlightenment of Helican. Suddenly, she receives a message from an angel telling her to inform her husband to cease his anger toward their daughter. Veronica is an agent of the First Cause, destined to purify humanity and provide solace to the oppressed. The next day, the detectives stumble upon Veronica's letter, which urges the mayor to abandon politics or face death. They report this to the mayor, adding that the killer is driven by a distorted notion of justice. Wharton believes that killing random cops seems counterintuitive, but Harper reveals that those cops have multiple excess force complaints filed against them. Later, the detectives head to Max's apartment, where they run into Veronica. They request to question her, so she welcomes them inside. The detectives ask her for her name, and she replies that she's Veronica Teresa Maria Agnes Alepi Esther Valeria Iscariot. When Harper asks her about the recent killings, Veronica makes the mistake of stating that the victims were evildoers. This is undisclosed information, which they find suspicious. Suddenly, Veronica asks the detectives if they consider Wharton as their master, but Harper firmly replies that he serves the people of the city. He then brings up the evidence that they saw at the crime scene, which is linked to the hospital where Max works. Veronica thinks that seeing Max as a suspect is ridiculous, believing that he's incapable of cruelty. She then boasts that it's more likely for her to do it than him. The detectives sense something off with this statement, and upon seeing Veronica's unusually large shoes, they decide to leave. When Max gets home that night, he's surprised to find Veronica wearing clothing she made from his leather couch. Given this, he invites her to go out. She then feeds Hellraiser with the cop's insides, disguising it as a mere raw diet for the dog. Before leaving, she tells Max that she wants to see an explicit film. Unbeknownst to them, the detectives are following them to the movies. The men sit at the very end of the vicinity, thinking they'll go undetected. However, Veronica gazes at them with a piercing stare. After the movies, Max takes Veronica to a club where she shares that she found the film exciting. As they talk, they're unaware that Harper is still tailing after them. Later, Lois, Max's friend from med school, approaches him and immediately tries flirting with him. Infuriated, Veronica bluntly tells the woman that she's sweating like a pig. The offended Lois excuses herself to the comfort room, while Max confronts his companion for being rude. With this, Veronica also heads to the comfort room, though she intends to teach Lois a lesson. When she arrives, she screams at the other woman to leave, not knowing that a couple is still hiding in one of the cubicles. Suddenly, Veronica kicks the door to Lois's cubicle, and with her eyes gleaming red, she accuses the woman of coveting her man. She drags her to the sink and declares that she'll tear her from limb to limb. Meanwhile, the couple overhears this conversation, which drives the man to bring out a pocket knife in case things get bad. The woman whimpers in fear, alerting Veronica that they're not alone. She checks the cubicle, only to be stabbed in the stomach. The couple then escapes while Lois remains on the floor, horrified. Overwhelmed, Veronica loses control of her powers, which causes the light bulb above her to explode. Lois cries, asking what she did to deserve this treatment. This makes Veronica realize that her own desires have strayed her from the path of righteousness, so she apologizes to Lois. As Lois runs out of the bathroom, Harper enters. Seeing him, Veronica starts taunting him, commanding that he stay away from her and Max. She makes him promise, but the man finds no reason to obey her. With this, the demoness shows him what it would be like for him if he ended up in hell. This makes Harper lose his mind. Veronica leaves him crying on the floor and returns to Max, telling him that she apologized to Lois. The two then head to the dance floor, but it doesn't take long for Max to realize that she's bleeding. Meanwhile, Greenberg sees Harper running out of the building as if he just went through hell. The shivering man enters the car and whines that he feels cold. Greenberg immediately hands him some coffee, but the man is shivering so intensely that he spills it. Just then, Max and Veronica exit the building, prompting Greenberg to start the car. However, Harper cries in fear and tells him to let the two go. Later, Max takes Veronica home and realizes just how bad her wound is. She refuses to go to the hospital and insists that she'll be fine with getting stitches without anesthetics. Despite his hesitation, Max gathers his supplies to mend her wound. As he gets busy, Veronica asks if he's attracted to her, and he confirms this without hesitation. Suddenly, she bluntly says that she wants to copulate with him, which stuns Max. Seeing his reaction, the woman apologizes for not knowing how to express her sentiments, but she reassures him that she's not bound by human laws, wherein she needs the church's blessings to fornicate. This confuses Max, so Veronica confesses that she's not human but a person who might repulse him. Despite having many questions, Max proceeds with his task and stitches her up. After this, Veronica insinuates that they copulate, but Max hesitates, thinking it might hurt her. However, she reassures him that she's not in pain. Soon after, the two share an intimate moment, and it becomes so passionate that time literally stops. Veronica also reveals her demonic features, but Max still finds her beautiful. Elsewhere, Greenberg brings Harper to the chief, informing him that the man wants to remove himself from the case. As they speak, the frightened Harper claims that these are the last days. Meanwhile, Veronica confesses to Max that she's responsible for the recent killings, but she reasons that it's what her kind does. Finally acknowledging that she's a demoness, Max wonders if she found him because he felt lost in his faith. She confirms this, but she also assures him that heaven is real. After her lover falls asleep, she leaves the apartment with Hellraiser to head to Wharton's house. Upon arriving, she puts the guard in a trance and welcomes herself inside. Meanwhile, Wharton enters his bathroom and realizes that his teeth and nails are falling off. Horrified, he runs out but soon realizes it was only an illusion. He then finds Veronica in his room, her eyes glowing red with fury. She pins him to the bed and shows him the horrible eternity that awaits if he doesn't change his ways. Veronica leaves the man screaming hysterically, but as she exits the house, one of the guards shoots her in the back. In hell, Veronica's parents are awakened by an angel, informing them that their daughter must be bathed in the river Styx before it's too late. However, upon her return, Helican must promise not to harm her, for she's an agent of the first cause. Meanwhile, the dying Veronica returns to Max. Suddenly, the angel appears in a portal through Max's mirror, explaining that the only way to save Veronica is for her to return home and bathe in the sacred river. Despite not wanting to let her go, Max has no choice. Before Veronica leaves, she tells him to keep an eye out for the mayor. She soon enters the portal, leaving Hellraiser to Max. The following day, Max witnesses from a live broadcast that Wharton has apologized for everything that he's done. He also plans to retire in a monastery and devote his life to doing good. That evening, Max wakes up to his mirror being engulfed in flames. Just then, Veronica emerges and reunites with her one true love.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.